And Shlomo, what's the name again? I didn't hear.
I'm waiting for my chaverim to get it right. Off. Okay, Shlomo, say the name out loud, so we should be able to say it correctly.
So I will talk about the Or Sameach. I hope we'll get there.
Shlomo Moshe ben Udi.
Shlomo Moshe ben
Udi.
Udi. We should have a refuah shalema min hashamayim in the schus of the Torah we will be sharing today. So I think, if my memory is correct, I don't remember. I think one of the first sugyas we actually started off with years ago when we introduced this virtual Yarchei Kallah, I think was about brochas. So, the Torah is Arucha me'eretz midah orachava minei. You could learn one sugya for years, and Baruch Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu really should help us for many more years to come. Nachas and in good health. So I think I shared with you this thought in the past, but first of all, I want to share with you a very good besura, and I will go out of my way.
Wow.
I've been saying for months that we're waiting for the new edition of Minchas Osher ala Torah. Finally, we got there. This is it. So tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, in my kollel, I bought a new talis. I will make a shechiyanu. And to me, this is a great event because even though I published 35 Svarim, Baruch Hashem, Minchas Osher ala Torah is still the flagship. It's the crown jewel. It is the sefer which many places in the world people have shiurim kivuim every Shabbos in Minchas Osher ala Torah, and this is mamish ponim chedoshos ba'ulakan. It's a totally new, twice as large as the previous one, as the first edition. So for the 10 years, the Minchas Osher ala Torah is not available in stores, and now Baruch Hashem, the Chazdei Shemayim was a monumental project, 500 sugyas, which is something. So Shechiyonu v'Kiyamonu v'Giyonu l'zman hazeh. Tomorrow I'll say Shechiyonu with Shem HaMalkus. And I share this event with my precious Talmidim world over. So Baruch Hashem, I thank you, Kodesh Baruch Hu.
Mazel tov.
In the name of the Talmidim, we wish to Rav a Mazel Tov, and this is 36. This Tfei Chai, if that's the case.
Yes, but this is actually not a totally new sefer, but it is new.
It's Tfei Chai. It's Tfei Chai.
Bezrat Hashem. Yeah.
Amen. So they'll have helfen Gesundheit bis ausgeben Svarim ad bias a goyel.
Amen, amen, amen. So one cannot overestimate the importance of brachas. Brachas are essentially the fundament of Avodas Hashem. And if a person really works on himself to say brachas and a hand with kavanah, he's an Oved Hashem all day. And we'll have many opportunities in the coming weeks further to elaborate. I apologize in advance. The Shiur today will be a few minutes shorter than it usually is because I have many obligations tonight. But we will delve into the depth of this sugya. Okay, let's start off with the Gemara Lamed Vav Omed Beis. Rav and Shmuel are the two Balei Plukta in the entire Shas, but they both agree on a fundamental principle in Hilchos Brochas.
Page 4.
Lamed Vav Omed Beis. Gufa. Rav Shmuel da Amri Tarvayu. Rav and Shmuel, the classical Balei Plukta, both agreed on one fundamental halacha called sheyesh bo mechameshes aminim mevorchen olav Borei Minei Mezonos. Bottom of the page, Lamed Vav Amud Beis. Kol sheyesh bo chameshes aminim, mavochen olav Borei Minei Mezonos. Lamed Vav Amud Beis.
Yeah, it's coming. One second. Yeah, the machine is. The machine is a little slow. There we go.
Are there exceptions or not? So I think only natural. Let's have a look at the Rambam. How the Rambam defines this halacha. Perek Gimel.
Page 391. Rav Pesach. I'm sorry, Rabbi. I'm going to give him the page numbers. 391.
Okay, we have the Shulchan Aruch. Then let's be with the Shulchan Aruch. We could skip the Rambam. Okay, here we have the Rambam. Great. Perek Gimel halacha Daled. Kemach shel echad mechameshes aminim shebishloi b'gedera bein levater bein she'irvoyim dvoram acherim kegon levivot v'kiyoytze b'hem v'chen adugan shecholkoi oy kotshoi v'bishloi b'gedera rifes v'geresh akam v'kiyoytze kol ze nikru masa gedera v'chen kol taf shel shira b'chamesh aminim bein kemach bein pas v'tchila mavorach olav Borei Minei Mezonos. B'med dvorim amurim. So the Rambam writes, yes, there is an exception. B'med dvorim amurim kishoy min ezachoshev etzloi v'lo hoyet feila. Aval im hoyu hazeh echod mechameshes aminim she'erev tfeila einay mevorach elu alika u'poiter es hatfeila. V'zeh klal b'brochas. Kol shuika, le'may tfeila, mevorach eker, poiter es hatfeila. Okay. I want to focus first of all on halacha Daled, and then we will discuss halacha Hey. The fundamental halacha Daled is kol sheyesh bo chameshes aminim, mevorach olav Borei Minei Mezonos. And now we just scroll down to the Shulchan Aruch. I saw the Shulchan Aruch on the bottom of our page. Reish Ches. Here we are. Halacha Beis. Chameshes min hadagim sheshalkon oy kotshon v'yosem em tachshol kegon masik deira mevorach olav Borei Minei Mezonos. Af al pi afilu irev amuam dvash harba yoysa mehein oy mina macherem harba yoysa mehein. The 5 types of grain are a miut. The majority of the dish is mina macherem, afal piken. Because of the chashivus of chameshes min hadagim, you always say Borei Minei Mezonos. Our question is, let's have a look at the sefer of this sif. Aval im lo nosen hadagim betafshel elo ledapkoi v'la'akpoisoi botel betafshel. One condition. It is only if the grain is part of the dish because of added flavor or taste. But sometimes the only reason you put grain, dagan, into a tafshel is just ledabkoi. Could you remind me what the word in English is? Conjugulate, something like that? Did I get the word right?
The word congeal means to harden when a liquid hardens. Ledavkai, we have been using ledavkai for to connect it, to hold it together, and that kind of.
Okay. So to connect it or to stick it together, that's the language of pshutei am. I think it is conjugulate, something like that. I think that's
coagulate. That's what they're telling me here in the bottom.
Oh yeah, okay. So coagulate. Yeah, I think that's the proper word. But anyway, if the reason you put Chameshes Mina Dogan is Devek, Tseva, Reach, not because you want the taste of grain, then Chameshes Mina Dogan is bottle. But if it adds flavor or taste, it is never bottle, even though Duvshe Harbe Yoisa Mimeno. So is this a fundamental rule, or there are other exceptions? I would suggest, let's go back to the Rambam. Let's go back to the Rambam that we had on our screen just a moment ago.
Page 391. There you go. Perfect.
Perek Gimel Halacha Dalet. So Halacha Dalet is the basic rule. But Halacha Hey, B'meh Dvuram Amurim. כשהיו המין הזה חושב אצלוי, ולא היו תפילה. אבל הם היו אחד מחמשת המינים שעירב תפילה, אינו מבורך אלא על העיקר. In one of our coming shiurim, we will discuss at great length the concepts of ikar v'tofel. But even before we analyze that sugya, which is a different sugya, I want to stress that Rambam here deals with a tafshel. It's not like kugel and sour pickle. It's not like schnapps and a cracker or herring and a cracker. It's a tafshel. It's a tafshel which has a taroivis, and after piken the Rambam says, if the chameshes aminim is a tofel, you don't say Borei Minei Mezonos. And this brings us to a machlokes between the Rashba and the Rosh. Brochas Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. I don't know whether we have it on our Maramakot.
The Rashba is right here on this page.
So the Rashba
on top of the Rambam.
Okay, so the Rashba seems to be very clear. Ma detay meduv sheikar, kamash malan, Borei Minei Mezonos. Kol sheyesh bo chameshes aminim perish. Rubei dvash miutei soiles. Ve'ina meikre mach mesduv shoy ve'soltoi la'atim moi ve'lachshiroi. Mekol mokom kiven de soltoi ma'urav boi lachshiroi mevochen ala soiles. Keda sikno mohodera v'shmir. V'lo yidom letafshir deliftan, which is a shakal, kimcha lav lahachsho v'nameya baitama, ela v'tvuke b'yalma. So the Rashba makes it clear, even though the dogan is a tofel, it's not the ikar, you still say Borei Minei Mezonos. In my sefer, Minchas Osher Shalas Etshuvas Chelik Beisim and Tet Zayin, I have a lengthy discussion, and I quoted the Meiri. And I think the lashon of the Meiri proves contrary to the Rashba. You only say a Mezonos kol sheyesh bechameshes aminim if the tafshel is nikra al shem chameshes aminim. And it is the more important part of the tafshel. That is
what like the lashon of Meiri. Would you like us to put the Meiri up?
Yes. I think it's very important.
110.
Till we have the meter on the screen, I'm just taking the telephone out of the room. Just a moment.
Okay, Pesach, get that Meiri up, please, on 110. $110. Mark, I think you have to take over here. Could you move it to 110? Okay, it's coming. Okay, I think the rest should be Mamshech while our computer.
So the Meiri's lashon is kol sheyesh bechameshes aminim. Okay, here we are. Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph. Kol tafshel shul bechameshes aminim. אם תבשל זהו ששולת חיתן, או אחד מחמשת המינים ולא נסבק המבורך בורא פרי אדומו. It's only because they're whole.
It's the piece on the bottom of the page. The Rav's, I think what the Rav means is the next one called Tafshel, the next one on the bottom of the page.
Yes.
Scroll it down, Pesach.
Down.
It's the next called Tafshel, the Rebbe Moscow. You have to scroll the page down. I apologize for the slow response on the computers. I'm not sure why it is, but it's coming.
So till we have it on the screen, okay, here we are. כל תבשל מאלו הנזכורים שהם בדין בורא מן המזונס, הם עירב בו דבורם אחרים כגון דבש, ושמא ותבשל, אף על פי שיכנס בהם הרבה. הואיל ויש בו מחמש המינים, אף על פי שריבו מדבורם אחרים, הולכים אחרי סמין. Why did we go backwards? Okay.
We left out the last line. Ikar atafshel.
הואיל ויש בו חמש המינים, ושעיקר
Okay, let's do this again. Back to the previous line. Stay there for 2 seconds so we can get the last line for Pesach, and then we'll go to this next number. I'm sorry, Kvei Rav. This is I know.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
הואיל ויש בהם חמש המינים, ושעיקר התבשל קרוי על שם עושי מין מחמש המינים.
Next page.
אף על פי שריבו מדבורם אחרים, הולכים אחר עושי המין, והוא שאומרו סמידי עיקר, רוצה לא אמר, הקמח, וזה שקורא בכאן חובץ דרש ומחל הקמח בדרש השתמן תבשל, אבל הם עיקר התבשל מדבורם אחרים, או מכנס מהקמח אבל למטה כסתם, או לאבס התבשל כדרך שלושה בדרש שיזן, אין הקמח עיקר. So the Meiri clearly says, even though the kemach is lematek esatam, it is a tofa. So the Meiri clearly says, when we say kol sheyesh b'chamesh aminim b'da minim ezaynis, the point is, even though the majority is other macharim, but if the chamesh aminim is a tofa, even though it is lemate kesatam, we don't say b'da Mezonos. In my sefer, I proved from the Rosh Ke'en Divrei Meiri. And why is this important to me? Because when we have a Rashba against the Meiri, we would naturally pass in accordance to the Rashba. The Meiri is a Rishon that we discovered only in the past 100 years or 150 years. But the Beis Yosef, in his introduction to his monumental sefer, the Beis Yosef, the Beis Yosef counts the Rosh as one of the big three. So Rashba against Rosh, it's an open question. And I proved from the Rosh, like the Shlit of the Meiri, even Chameshes Aminim sometimes is a tofa, and not always will we say by the Mezonos. Shulchan Aruch seems to side with the Rashi. And that is what the Shulchan Aruch clearly says, as we saw just a few minutes ago, called Sheyesh b'Chameshes Aminim, and he doesn't stress that it needs to be Korui al Shem Chameshes Aminim, or it needs to be Ikar HaTavshon. I think the Meiri on one end and the Taz are the two extremes. Could we have Taz Sif Koten Gimel? Taz Sif Koten Gimel, if we have it. If not, I'll just, quote him, Balpe.
We do what page, Rabbi?
Give us a second, I'll give you the page.
So when the Shulchan Aruch says, Kol sheyesh bo mechameshes aminim, is a b'da minim Mezonos, even though there's more honey than grain.
272. Then, or whatever, add the numbers that you need to add. 272 on the book.
So here we are. So the Shulchan Aruch says, Kol sheyesh b'chamesh aminim, afilu im irev v'imom dvorim acherim. So let's have a look at the Taz. Underline. Kam b'chamesh aminim shem chashuvim b'yoysa. Lo azninam b'osarov. Kol shenoysa noysa lamachal. Ma shenke mished dvorim azninam b'osarov. If it would be anything else. V'chanisa b'simareshches. Mashma dekan. Afilu einam noisnem tam. Sheyesh lem chashivus. Kivin shem lamachal, to kol sheyesh dvash, ein margish rak tam dvash. Wow. So the Taz says, if you mix grain with honey, you'll only feel the taste of honey. Nevertheless, you say Mezonos even though you don't feel the taste of the grain. That's the extreme other side of the Meiri. The Meiri says, even if you do feel the time of Dogon. If it's a Tofel, say a Shahakal. The Taz says, even if you don't feel the time of grain, say a Mezonos. How would we understand the Taz? Why? Why? The Gemara clearly says, only if it is Latam, not Ledavik. So let's have a look at Siv Gimel. And Siv Gimel teaches us there is something in between tam and coagulate. There is something in between. Siv Gimel on our page. Em oisin ken kedeshi yisoid aleiv mevorech Borei Minei Mezonos ve'im ledevek ba'alma eino mevirech Borei Minei Mezonos. A new concept, kedeshi yisoid aleiv. What does that mean? So in the Gemara, it seems to be either tam or devek. If it's devek, you don't say a Mezonos. If it's tam, you do say a Mezonos. Yisoid Halev. I think Yisoid Halev means sometimes people eat for their health, for their benefit, or simply because they're hungry. It is not always about the pleasure of food. The Pasuk says, Tzadik oichel l'soiva nafshay. And Elachid eats because he needs to eat. That's the Ratzon Hashem. He needs to live. He needs to have the energy to go through his daily avodah. So Tam is always Borei Minei Mezonos. Devek, never Borei Minei Mezonos. But in this Sif, we find a new concept. Shkedim she'oisam l'choila. So a person that is ill, you know, we all stuff ourselves with vitamins. Vitamins that aren't tasty, but they're beneficial for our health. Yisoid Alev. So when the Taz says, even though you don't feel their taste, but it is still kiven shehem lemachal. I think these three words are significant. Kiven shem lemachal, and therefore Borei Minei Mezonos. Reb Shlomo, do you think we have the Avnei Nezer? Because it's a very amusing Avnei Nezer. Do we have it?
We do, and we even have the Avnei Nezer's mother.
Yeah. That's the funny part of this tshuva, that the Avnei Nezer quotes his mom. That is unique. It's not something we find very often.
No.
So let's have a look at the Shaila in the Avnei Nezer. Orach Chaim Siman Lamed Ches.
Page 395 in our book.
So, you know, in this sugya of Chameshes Aminim Mikra and Tofel, we are introduced to many tafshilim, which I doubt today are very popular, but we could only imagine that, you know, our gastronomical pleasures are evolving. So what they ate 500 years ago might not be the same that appeals to us today. An elderly person has difficulty chewing. Ground meat, so about
Make it bigger.
20% is bread.
Blow it up, please. So the Rav can read it easier. There we go.
חקרתי אצל האויסים מאכל הזה ואמרו, כי אין מערבם אף אחד מעשור הלחם לבן בבוסר. והכוונה בעירו והלחם אמרו לו, שהוא לדבק הבוסר ויהיה מרופרף. Well, I'm not aware there's a word in Hebrew, merufraf. It's the Abnezer's language. He could compete with Eliezer ben Yehuda. Lois balaz. So those of you that speak Yiddish, lois means lo samich. I don't find the words in English. Lois means liquidy, more
loose.
fluid.
Doesn't mean loose. Loose.
Maybe loose. Lois balaz kallah, because he can't chew. He has a problem with solids. It's easier for him to swallow liquids. So the reason they put in bread is just to make it more softer, more liquidy. Ve'imi tichya amruli shakamona gamken shia hanipuach lav, which means nefach. What is nefach in English? Just more bulk. Bulk.
Blown up.
Filler.
To blow it up.
Yeah, so we need more bulk.
Filler.
To make him satisfied, to deal with his hunger. So the Agudas deals with the question: would that be a Mezonos or a Shahaka? And I think that is exactly what I pointed out from the Shulchan Aruch. Lisoid halev. So this is a lengthy tshuva, and I would suggest let's go to the bottom line, mamish at the end of the tshuva, and the Agudas is machalek. Bulk, you say Borei, Minei, Mezonos. If it's just the bulk, you say Borei, Minei, Mezonos. But if it's just to make it liquidy, easier to swallow, Shahakol Nia B'Dvorei. So, what appeals to me in this Agudas, what I want to prove, what I proved from the Meiri and also the Psak of the Agudas, besides tam, taste, and devek, there are different concepts. And sometimes you just need bulk of food to tire a person, to make him satisfied, to take away his hunger. And that would be l'shem achila, l'shem achal. In my opinion, that is what the Shulchan Aruch means, sheyesoid halev. And let's have a look, the Agudas in this paragraph, we have it on the screen at the bottom. Toisvis, besofa omet kosvu, im oisen oisei kedei sheyesoid halev, blow it up. Im oisen oisei kedei sheyesoid halev, avaloshi elois, kalecho, beli shinayim. So the Agudas says, if it's just to make it more liquidy, to be able to swallow it without chewing, then it's a shahakol. But if it's sheyisod halev, then it would be by the Mezonos. So
what about gefilte fish? They're already murmuring here over the gefilte fish.
Okay, so in my opinion, gefilte fish, and I know this is a chiddush, but gefilte fish, in my opinion, is a shahakol, even though there is chameshes minadarim. You know, to me, the fact you call it gefilte fish, and you eat it at the beginning of your Shabbos meal. So to me, it is clear, gefilte fish at the end of the day is fish. And it's sometimes it's impossible to decide why do people put challah into gefilte fish. Probably it's ledavik. It gives it more bulk. It keeps it together. Fish is fish. Fish would disintegrate. So, in my opinion, whenever we have a suffix, you say a shahakal, because shahakal patters everything. Mezonos doesn't. And to me, dealing with gefilte fish, the bread is not really there for the taste. And gefilte fish is fish at the end of the day.
Thank you.
I would like go to the Or Sameach. And the Or Sameach has a kesher with gefilte fish. And it is very uncommon that the Or Sameach paskins halacha lemaisa in Or Sameach.
153. 153. Is the rubs the kaicha yafa for schnitzel too, or you're going to talk about that separately?
I might push off schnitzel when we're going to talk about ikar v'tofel. But the Or Sameach is a fascinating chiddush. But scroll down to the bottom of, here we are. So this is quite uncommon. He finishes this paragraph, Kein nereli boro lahalocha. The Or Sameach was the Rav of the Vents. He was a major posek. But in his lifetime, he only produced 2 sforim. Meshech Chachma, which is a monumental work on Chamisha Chumash Torah, Or Sameach al Rambam. And the Or Sameach is Landis. It's commentary. Very few paragraphs in the monumental work Or Sameach, he writes, Keinereli Borei lahalocha. And the Or Sameach is mechanish a big chiddush, and he writes, Kol sheyesh b'chamesh aminim, mavorach olav Borei mina Mezonos. So the Or Sameach says, if chamesh aminim are for taste, we say a Mezonos, not always. So the Or Sameach comes up with a big chiddush. If you have a dish and you put 10% challah, scroll. Okay, here we have, the entire paragraph is on our screen. If you have a dish in which you have 10% bread, 90% fish, spices, I never made gefilte fish, so I don't know how much of it would be dogan, chameshes mina dogan, bread, challah, and how much would actually be fish. My guess is that the producers, the manufacturers, would put in a minimum of fish and more challah because fish is more expensive than bread. But the Or Sameach makes an interesting argument, and he says, when do we say a Mezonos and kol sheyesh b'chamesh aminim? If people would prefer have more chamesh aminim to enhance the taste even more. But when you don't want more than a minimum amount of bread, you want some of the taste, but it's not the primary taste. And you would not want to have more bread, but more of the fish, then we do not say Borei Minei Mezonos. Nereli kach. Smack in the middle of the paragraph. Nereli kach. Do we have it? Here we are. The kol heich. The imo yomar bebekimcha have machal si choshev. Si choshev ameiyat ha'ma'urav u'kemoy chovetz kedera v'daisa. The have a machshe bakimcha yemaya duvshe gam ken chozel achila v'lachen ha'ma'at המעורב מחמש aminim אינו בוטל, וחושב ומבורכם משום עמית מהי מינם המעורב בורei mina Mezonos. אבל בתפסל סילקה, דאילי הווה מרבן בקמחה לא היו טוב לאכילה, דתם הסילקה היו נפגם, ולא יודף ומה שבקמחה, and it wouldn't be better if you put more bread, לכן לא חושב עמית המעורב בלא טעם דדבת, Regarding gefilte fish, you don't want too much bread because the real primary taste, you want the fish. And if you're going to have 50 or 60 or 70% bread, that wouldn't be gefilte fish. It wouldn't be appealing. Then even though it is letaima, we say sha'akal. Kain nereli bora lahalacha. And, to me, this is a mitzvah. A psak halacha and or samech, there ain't many piskei halacha and or samech, which is primarily lumdis and commentary of the Rambam. So, if you really want to see my tshuva in its entirety, it is in Minchas Osher Shalosh Tshuvas Chelik Beisim and Tet Zayin. But we did discuss the main points of my psak. So based on the Meiri and the Rosh, and a Mogen Avrom, which I didn't mention, Kuf Samaches Sif Kot Lamed, and the Or Sameach, and my fundamental approach, if you have a suffix, it is always preferable to say a shakal. Because with a shakal, you're yoitze in any event, Masha Enkein with a Mezonos. And because it is clear to me that gefilte fish is basically fish, it's what you call it, it's what you eat it. You eat it at the beginning of your Shabbos meal, and everybody wants to eat fish at their Shabbos meal. So fish is fish, whether it's gefilte fish or it's salmon or it's anything else. And therefore, my opinion is gefilte fish shahakal. I also say schnitzel shakal, but that will wait till our next shiur. So I need to apologize. I have 2 more obligations tonight, which I needed to take upon myself. So today's shiur will be a few minutes shorter than it usually is, but I do think that we actually discussed with clarity a fundamental question about kol sheyesh b'chameishes minim. And I just want to reiterate the major points. Lis oid halev, and that is the way I understand the Taz. And that is the Avnei Nezer. So the Avnei Nezer, we have 2 new concepts. Besides devek and tam, bulk, which is to satisfy his hunger and making it easier to swallow. If the bread of the grain is just making it easier to swallow, it's like devek, and it's a shahakal. But if it's giving more bulk to the dish and to satisfy one's hunger, then it's Borei Minei Mezonos. And then the chiddush of the Or Sameach, even though it is l'tam. But if you just want a minimal tam, and you don't want to have more of the chameishes minadagim, because then it'll diminish the taste, then we do not say a Borei Minei Mezonos. And to me, that is one of the reasons I paskin gefilte fish is a shahak.
Okay,
So,
we'll follow up on this, as the Rav said, in several. We're going to have a series of brachas spaced out over the winter months.
And what is beautiful about this sugi is the combination of lamdis, svara, and alocha lamaisa.
Before Rav goes.